Hello, it's me, Jay, your GM. I use he, them, and this time it's me flying solo. I wanted to make a quick video, just sort of like a year with Codex, a year with Draw Steel. I would just a short, sweet summary of a year with this game and with this software. First of all, I can tell you that my players are just as in love with Draw Steel as they were when they first started out. You can see I have 44 hours of playtime in the last year, which is pretty good, I would say. It surprises me that it's less than 1 hour a week because I play like 2.5 hour sessions once a week for the most part. But I guess, we have off weeks and things like that. And also, I don't know that our campaign has quite been running for a full year yet. I ran a previous campaign, but that was only a bi weekly campaign. So I don't know. I guess I just haven't quite hit my 50 hours yet. But, we're getting close. Within 5 sessions, we'll be over 52 hours, which would be 1 hour a week for an entire year. Regardless, I've spent a lot of time playing this game. So I wanted to go over a few things that I didn't cover in my first introduction to the Codex. And I also wanted to go over a couple of things that I've really enjoyed, a couple of things that stand out to me as important, right? So, first of all, I can say after a year of using Draw Steel, I am just as enamored with the game as I was a year ago. I think it's an awesome game. I think it is so tactically interesting, so fun. Here you can see we ended off last session with the party in a pretty bad way. They're pretty beat up, and the Thorn Dragon is also pretty beat up. But yeah, this fight has been pretty exceptional. You can see that the Thorn Dragon has laid down a ton of its thorn terrain. There were some minions in here that have been dispatched already. The heroes were really struggling against this thing. I mean, really struggling. Maybe I put a couple too many minions in with this big solo monster. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to challenge the party. And I am still learning as a GM in this game. So one thing I can definitely say is the encounter math in Draw Steel is accurate, which is both a good thing and also a bad thing. If you're like me, a GM who comes from 5e, I tend to not trust encounter math, so I tend to just make all my encounters hard because I suspect that that's actually a normal difficulty for my very skilled players. And in Draw Steel, that's not necessarily always the case. Hard encounters are hard. Look at my players' health bars. They maybe wish I had gone for a standard encounter here. Especially with my first time running a Draw Steel Dragon, maybe I should have held back a little. But regardless, we are using a prefab encounter, which I believe Draw Steel's, from one of Draw Steel's adventures. But look at the depth of field effect and the things layered over top of the tokens. It's such a cool map, and that's one thing I can really say has come a long way in the last year is they've been releasing some of their adventure modules onto the mods section. So Codex has a beautiful mods repository. I can't remember. Well, yeah, so download modules here, right? So this module, I don't think this was even out the last time I did a video on them, but there are so many awesome mods. I've got a bunch installed. Fishing 501, I highly recommend for anyone who's gonna run any fishing downtime activities. I think it's awesome. Non-combat scenes UI is a pretty cool little mod that just gives you a nice visual tracker. If I go to my maps, you can see the maps. Hang on. Oh, close this. Okay. So go to my maps. Yeah, you should be able to see in my list of maps. These are the ones from adventure modules. You can see that the Chapel of St. Mayrnoth map is the one I'm using. It's from the Dark Heart of the Woods. But yeah, this is from that mod. So it gives you a visual indicator of like a montage and gives you, it's all prefabricated and set up for you. Obviously, you can just delete these prefab actors and this stuff and replace it with your players. But it's just a nice little visual setup for running montages. And they've got one for negotiations and for exploration as well. I haven't used the exploration one ever, but I actually have used the. You should actually be able to see that the negotiation one I have used, because you'll see that my players are on. You see my NPCs here. You can also see that I adjusted this and used this as well. And I actually have the player actors here. They like clip to these little pips, which is kind of nice. Anyway, whatever. But there's a ton of mods that I think are awesome, and I use them all the time. You can also see that there's a new visual style UI. So I have all my players along the sidebar here. I have my monster along the sidebar. I can just click them to load into their character sheet, which is really nice. And if I'm actually in the map with the players, so if I'm actually in the map with the players, I believe I can even click the monster to, like, load into it. But yeah, so this is their stats and all their effects and things like that. Pretty cool. Anyway, so some other things I've really enjoyed about Codex that I don't necessarily think I covered in my last video. One thing I've been really enjoying, if I go to one of my battle maps I ran recently, I believe the courtyard here is an example of this. So, get rid of this bridge because this didn't exist. This was just me testing something later. So the players, there was an enemy who used an ability that dug a trench. And then I used the terrain editor, which I believe is under my map editor options here. Yeah, terrain editor. So you can just grab some dirt, right? And then you can grab a, rectangle tool like this, right? And I can just highlight an area and change the texture of that area. So when they dug a pit, I changed it to dirt so that it would stand out a little more. And you can see there's like a parallax effect when you go up and down it, because there was literally a pit. Like I also changed the dirt here to be dirt. And yeah, I just think it like really helps to show when the players have modified the terrain of the battlefield, and it's kind of really exciting for them to see like they are changing the map, right? So there's something cool about that. You know, if they make an area of ice, for example, you can drop down an ice field, or if they make an area of lava, you can just drop that on the map. Something I've been doing lately that I think is really fun and makes the players feel cool. You can also see that I very lightly use the parallax effects to make these pagodas kind of stand up over the rest of the terrain nearby. And I also lightly use the terrain effect to make the buildings feel a little taller around the edges. These are just little ways that you can use these effects to a less extreme extent, but to like just make maps feel a little cooler and more fleshed out. It's one of my favorite features of the Codex, this height map thing. Yeah, I'm still excited about it a year later. Let's see. They added a really awesome new end screen to fights. If I go in here, for example, I could, you know, press this and end the combat. If I were to do that, right, it allows me to show the victory screen or to end the combat with no victory. I'm going to cancel out of this now because they're in the middle of a fight. I'm not going to end the combat, but there's an awesome victory screen now that pops up, and it like shows like little statistics for each player as well as how much damage they did, and it's very cool. It also lets you assign the victories to the players, which is nice. It makes that very quick and easy. Additionally, they have like a really cool indicator when a crit happens. A little thing will pop up across the screen and say, "Oh, a crit's happened," and then you get an extra turn. It's really cool. When you use villain actions, it's not letting me because Briar Bindings has already been used in this encounter. But if I wanted to go into my dragon here, and I wanted to go into its main actions, or maybe I think it's listed under triggers. Yeah, so I can sort of force it to do these things. But yeah, when you click on these, it shows like a really cool pop up of the monster, and it says like, oh, they're using their villain action. So it's really exciting, and I just love that stuff, man. It's like so cool. Um, let's see. Another thing that I would say has been really interesting about using Codex for over a year is the fact that the Codex has already gained a ton of content in that year. There's a bunch of adventures, and each of those adventures comes with a few monsters. There's already been the Beast Heart class and the um, Summoner class, which have come out in the past year. So two entire classes have already been added to the game, which is really cool, especially when the classes are as deep and complex as they are here. I'm only on my second campaign in Draw Steel, so we've barely gotten through all of the like basic classes that just come in the core book. But I can already tell like there are players who are going to really do well with the Summoner, for example, who kind of have a mind for how to use minions. And in play as a GM, like minions take their turn so quickly that I wouldn't really be worried at all about giving minions to a player because um, they're really easy to control, despite the like how much you would think they would add a ton of complexity, especially when you compare it again to D&D. There's when you have summons and summon spells, they've mostly been eradicated out of the game now because of how complicated they make things. But it's frankly completely different over here. Everything tends to happen pretty quickly in Draw Steel for the most part. There are times where interactions get a little more complicated, and there are times where the players are really stressing and trying to figure out how to get the most out of their turns and abilities. Um, in my most recent combat, for example, both of the marshals ran out of recoveries. And suddenly the fight became very, very tense because the marshals could not regain hit points. And the Thorn Dragon has all these ways to do incidental damage to you. So they were losing HP, but they were unable to regain it. But fortunately, someone had used their downtime to brew up potions. And the heroes quickly realized that the potions were way more valuable in the marshals' hands. Firstly, because the marshals didn't have recoveries left, but secondly, because the marshals get way more HP back off of each of those potions. And the marshals are both sensors, which means they can use My Life for Yours. So they were, one of them had a growth potion, which had tripled his HP and gave him huge recoveries. And then he was able to use My Life for Yours on allies in the Thorn Dragon's aura. The Thorn Dragon was having their HP recovery from any source of healing. So this growth potion guy could heal 34 HP to an ally, but in the Thorn Dragon's aura, it was only 17 HP recovered. But that 17 was miles beyond what anybody else could even get close to because their normal recoveries were only like 14 HP, getting halved down to 7. So suddenly he could drop a nuke of like 17 HP on somebody. So he was using all of his recoveries to keep people up with his huge pool of health that he had from drinking that growth potion. And it's probably the only reason that the party is still alive at all in this latter half of the combat. And stuff like that is just happening every single session. It's just always cool shit all the time. And I, 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 I really, obviously I enjoy it, but I think the important thing, like, it's not necessarily that it's fun, but it is, like, mentally stimulating. Like, when you play Draw Steel, you feel like you are making important choices. You feel like you are doing something that challenges you, not on a, like, skill level, like a game of basketball, but it challenges you to really understand the state of the battle, the state of what other people are doing, the state of the enemy abilities, and how they interact with what you have on your sheet. And, you know, your options in Draw Steel are actually quite limited. Like, you only have a few abilities. You have a couple of low-level abilities, a couple of mid-level abilities, and then you have any potions you brewed up with your own downtime, things like that. And then that's really it. Like there's not a huge list of spells you can go down and find an answer to any problem in. And the abilities you do have are in a fairly narrow band. But everybody in the party has that pool of specialized abilities. And so, you know, it's not like in a game of D&D where there's a wizard who can do all these amazing things, and then you get to the fighter's turn, and the fighter can really just output damage. No, you have to think about everybody's turn. Everybody has a limited but deep pool of abilities that allows them to impact the board state in some interesting way. For example, another great one from the recent fight, we had the Censor, who had the Thorn Dragon has abilities that restrain you, and whenever you're restrained, you're also bleeding. So the heroes were trying to figure out how to get people out of that restrained without taking the bleeding damage, because the HP pools were already so low that they were on the verge of actually dying. I mean, there were times where people were deep in the negative in this fight. So the Censor realized he had an ability with his judgment to teleport. So he could break his grapple with his judgment. So by placing his judgment, he could teleport out of the grapple, and that removed the bleeding condition, which meant that before he took the bleed damage for placing his judgment as a maneuver, he had already teleported out, broken the restraint, and thus lost the bleed condition. So it was that like super intricate interaction there. Another great one was the elementalist, the green elementalist we have over here, our little fairy friend. I'll have to reset their turn. But they have an awesome ability. Yeah, we'll revert that turn. They have an awesome ability which lets them teleport to spaces called practical magic. So they were using that to break their own grapples to get into position to then cast spells that removed conditions from their allies to break their grapples and to remove their bleeding. And it was all just cascading in really interesting and clever ways. As I clicked to that turn start, I'm sure you heard the music begin to play on that character. The music playing is amazing. Everybody loves it. It's always a treat when somebody comes in after a week off and they have a new theme song for their character. And everybody is like, oh my god, this song is so cool. Oh, wow, where'd you get this? And then we talk about the game or the movie or the show that they got the ability from. And it's just like one more of a million ways in which this app is just making you think about your character, think about the game, enjoy the process of play. They recently released a store which lets you buy some cosmetics. They're not like really intrusive or anything, but of course, being a power user of this software, I had no choice but to pick up the Stars dice because they are both beautiful, but also they make the best clinky clacky noise. My friend said that it felt pretty bad that I was not only beating them up in the game, but my dice were also mogging them, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This app just keeps getting better. I mean, look how much the UI has improved with this most recent UI update. This came out like 2 weeks ago. They completely changed how the UI works. So now I can click on any character and you see that it like hovers over them. There's a little person panel here, right? So if I click on that little person panel, it pulls up their character sheet. I can drag that to the side of the window and lock them to the side of the screen. So now I have all my player characters here on the side of my screen. I can just quickly at a glance see who has surges, who has HP, who has, victories, who has heroic resources. I can see my enemies at a glance as well. I can quickly access their character sheets. Like, it's kind of awesome. And it just keeps getting cooler. It's the best investment I've ever made in an RPG, because literally I pay like a ridiculously small amount of money. Like, I pay a monthly fee to their Patreon. I think in total in a year I paid them like $60, $70. And I get all of the content that comes out in a year. It's kind of crazy. I don't feel like I have to invest a huge amount, but what I get out of it is amazing. I mean, I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying myself. I just can't say enough good things about it. And the codex itself is extremely cool. Like, when I click on a monster, I can click on their main action. It shows me all the abilities. And you can see, this is their like main attack, right? This is their what they specialize in. These are the generic actions that are on every character, and then these are the special ones that are going to be unique to each particular individual. So if I click on this character, you'll see they have these special actions over here. And I believe these are based on their kit, and these are based on their class, or something like that. But regardless, you can quickly at a glance see, like, what can a person do on their turn. So when I'm running a monster, one of the very few complaints I have right now is I do wish like monster stat blocks were a little more at a glance readable. This feels like a lot of screen real estate, and yet most of the stuff, in order to understand what it's actually saying, I have to like hover or click on it, right? And then it'll expand out into a description of that ability. I would prefer if they just gave me a stat block, like a static stat block that wasn't so interactive but had all the information in a condensed format. They are working on a complete redesign of monster stat screens. I have every confidence that they're going to arrive at something really good. I mean, I could not have fathomed this UI update before they released it. And when I first saw it, I was deeply skeptical. I was like, why are we trying to look like Roll20? But then when I saw that each of these little buttons is completely customizable. Like, look at this. I can click rearrange. I can move any button I want anywhere I want on the screen. I could put this button over here for some reason if I wanted to. They just give me that sort of customizability. It's amazing. So I went through and spent a long time customizing my sidebar to exactly what things I actually use. And then removed basically everything I didn't use. And then I also put in these sub-menus, right? So for example, here's my map editor bar. I created a little sub-menu of all the different kinds of map editor tools that I tend to use, and they're all stored in here. It's... And like, that level of customizability is unreal. I've never seen that on any other VTT. But when I think about, you know, what I want out of a VTT, it's first order accessibility, right? It's like, I want to be 1 or 2 clicks away from everything important that I'm doing all the time. And guess what? Like, with this, I am 1 or 2 clicks, like, I just hover over this, and then I can immediately get to the terrain editor. Now I can take the dirt editor out. I can make a patch of dirt in literally, what was that, like 2 clicks? 2 clicks to get a patch of dirt on the battlefield? No digging around in menus, no massive sidebars on the side of the screen, but still only 2 clicks away from the cool features I want. Let's say I want to add a monster to the screen. Bam, there's the bestiary. Bam, there's the search engine. I type in goblin. There's my goblins. Like, it's so quick. It's so easy. I can't get over, like, what they're doing here. It doesn't make sense. It's so good. And yeah, so a year on, I'm more in love than ever. I know I haven't been making videos as much lately. I try to only make videos when I have something to say. And so, you know, I don't want to just be farming content that's just regurgitating the same stuff everybody else is saying. But, you know, I was sitting there thinking about it the other day. I was thinking about all the people who look at my tutorial for Codex and how to use it. And I was thinking how, like, that thing was made right after Codex came out, and it's so old now. Like, it's almost irrelevant because they've already added so many new incredible features in the short period of time from then to now that video makes no sense as an introduction to Codex as it currently is. So I'm going to have to completely remake that video, but I'm probably going to wait for like 6 more months or so and let them kind of, maybe the cake will cool a little and the form of this thing will settle down to a more finalized state. I remember the thing my friends were all saying, like, about Codex, like, it's great, the UI is terrible. And now they've released an update that makes the UI amazing. Like, one of the best UIs, I think, in any VTT out there. The second best VTT I've ever used was Foundry, and I had to quit using it because everything was buried under, like, 6 submenus. Like, to add an NPC to a battlefield, I had to go into, like, a image editor and find an image and then bring it up and then, like, populate it to a NPC token and then drop that on the map, and then I had to go into that and change the name and go in and edit all that other nonsense. Like, it was so tedious to add an NPC. And in here, what I do is I just type civilian. If I could spell, that would be great. I type civilian. I put him on the map. I click on him. I click his little sheet here. Customize appearance. Let's go ahead and just grab a Dragonborn here. I want to change his name. Sure, he's Roger now. And we're done. He's on the map. Like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's good. It's really, really good. Yeah, I don't know. I've been using it for nearly a year now. I'm still enjoying it. I think I'm probably gonna keep using it for a long time coming forward. My players have all basically said that they are enjoying Draw Steel a lot more than they were enjoying other games, and that they want to keep playing it, which is ultimately the only thing that actually matters in all of this. Like, it can have all the features in the world. If the game's not fun, it doesn't matter, but the game is fun. So, I've got the player endorsement, I've got my own enjoyment, and I just think it's a really special thing. And so I hope that you, if you have a chance, give this software a try, give this game a try. And they are launching a Kickstarter for Crows, which is their OSR-like kind of game. It's not an OSR game. They made a big point about this, but it is their sort of gritty, low fantasy, low HP, dungeon crawling kind of game, which I'm very excited about because there are kinds of games that I cannot run in Draw Steel, but Crows uses some of the Draw Steel systems. I'm not super big on gritty, high death toll kind of games, generally speaking, but I think that there's enough in Crows to make it close to what I want, that I can probably do some minor tweaks and get the kind of, like, not low fantasy, but mid fantasy that I think would be kind of fun. But I'm really excited for it because I do like the dungeon crawler kind of aesthetic. I do like the kind of low to the ground, high stakes kind of aesthetic. I don't necessarily want the churn and burn of a high death toll in my campaign, but I'm sure that there are ways you can play around that. And I'm sure that there will be advice in the book for how to make that happen. But Crows is going up on Kickstarter, like, today. Like, probably by the time you're watching this, it's already out. So I'm really excited for that because I hope that Crows does really well and they add it to the Codex as well, because I think it would be awesome if I could run 2 different games in this software. It would just expand the kinds of campaigns I have available to me. And frankly, I always want to be in the DM Hub Codex ecosystem if I can be. I want to spend as much time in this wonderful world they've created as I can. So if I can get 2 games in here, that'd be amazing. If I could get 10 games in here, that'd be even better. But for now, I just had to make a follow-up video. I haven't talked about Codex or Draw Steel in a while, and with how much has changed in Codex, that feels kind of criminal, because it's not even the same software I showed off last time on my channel, and I was already in love with that version, but they just made it so much better. It's reverse in shitification. It's in goodification. I don't know what to tell you, man. All right, that's enough. All right, I'm stuck in a Midwestern goodbye. See you later, everybody. Ciao.